Hi, Vivek. As someone who has come across brainwashed leftists on campus, one of the moments my friends and I have seen them the most brainwashed is when it comes to climate change. Last year, around this time, we set up a table on campus, dressed up as Captain Planet, encouraging students to sign a petition banning dihydrogen monoxide, better known as water, to combat climate change. On its face, it sounds like a waste of time, but we ended up getting over 100 signatures to ban water. As someone who views himself as a conservationist, how do we get people to stop using climate change as a buzzword and start having serious conversations on how to address serious environmental disasters that everyday Americans face?
Yeah, well, that was clever. I'm tempted to go down a rabbit hole here that I don't want to go too deep into. I actually do talk about this in the book. That's actually less crazy than much of the climate change advocacy, because carbon dioxide as a percentage of the atmosphere is like 0.04%. And we're actually at the lowest, almost lowest, one of the lowest amounts of carbon dioxide as a percentage of the global atmosphere than we've ever been in the history of the Earth. And most of the times when you had a higher percentage of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, you actually had ice ages. So this idea, and by the way, in the 1970s, that's what they were worried about. So guys, look this up back when, there was these things in America that used to be called magazines. They were printed and they were paper and they would come to your house every week. So Newsweek would come once a week, Time Magazine would come once a week. Cover of Time Magazine and Newsweek was Ice Planet. Yeah, this young man remembers that. You're in elementary school. So you're around for the age of the magazines. But literally, this is a big deal. Cover magazine of Time and Newsweek is that there's a global ice age coming unless we stop burning CO2. So this is what they said. This is not that long ago. Okay, it's like 50 years ago. And then they said, wait a minute. Actually, we're not entering an ice age. Maybe it's the opposite problem. Maybe we're just overwarming the planet. So let me just, jokes aside, let's just break this question down. Hard facts, hard truths. Are global surface temperatures going up? Contrary to what the scientists in the 1970s predicted if we said we'd have a global ice age. No, they were actually wrong. Global surface temperatures are going up by a little bit. Is that directly due to man-made activity of some kind? I think the correlation is strong enough that the answer to that is probably. Is that directly due to carbon dioxide? Far from certain. Actually, to the contrary, you could have reasons to believe it was other gases, maybe even gaseous H2O, funny enough, as to bring that full circle, or other forces in the atmosphere that we don't recognize. But the most important question that nobody asks, and this one is, it frustrates a lot of climate activists when I mention this, but it is the question we ought to ask, is, do we have any evidence to suggest that that small increase in global surface temperatures, even if it is man-made, is at all a bad thing on net for humanity? It's actually an interesting question because there's actually some strong arguments to be made that this is a positive thing for humanity. 8 times as many people die of cold temperatures rather than warm ones, and yet we're setting a global policy agenda to make sure that we have cooler temperatures when 8 times as many people die of cold temperatures. Another interesting fact, the Earth is more covered by green surface area today than it was a century ago because carbon dioxide is plant food. It's actually an intake for plants, and plants tend to grow in slightly warmer global surface temperatures. So you could go straight down the list in a lot of ways where the effects of this kind of climate change has some positive effects and arguably even net positive effects for humanity, which is why it makes no sense to go out of our way to destroy access to abundant, plentiful, cheap energy, which is the best way to prevent all temperature-related deaths. Like you, I am a conservationist. I believe in clean air and clean water. I believe in preserving the beautiful country of the United States of America, including in our national parks. And it's a shame because that environmentalist movement has been co-opted and bastardized by viewing the entire environmental agenda through this prism of a really religious cultish movement of climate change, which I think is actually just a substitute for religion in modern America. And that's a deeper conversation we can have later. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.